Cinderella was a kind-hearted girl living under the mercy of her cruel stepmother and her two arrogant daughters. Since the death of her father, her life had become a chain of endless chores. She would wake up at dawn to clean the house, cook the meals, and sew dresses for her stepsisters. One day, great news spread throughout the town. The prince was holding a grand ball at the palace to choose a bride from among the young women of the kingdom. The house filled with excitement as Cinderella's stepmother hurried to prepare the finest dresses for her daughters. Cinderella was commanded to sew new gowns for them, without daring to dream of attending the ball herself. Busy with preparing clothes and jewelry, Cinderella hid her tears behind a gentle smile. When the day of the ball arrived, her stepsisters dressed in their luxurious gowns. Adorned with jewelry and perfumes, they left for the palace, leaving Cinderella alone in the cold house. She sat by the fireplace, tears falling silently down her cheeks, wishing she could at least glimpse the celebration. Suddenly, a fairy godmother appeared, surrounded by a warm glow. The fairy godmother approached Cinderella and said kindly, "Do not cry, dear child. You deserve to dream." With a wave of her magic wand, Cinderella's ragged dress transformed into a royal gown of silk and gold, and a pair of glass slippers sparkled like stars at her feet. With another wave, the pumpkin in the garden turned into a magnificent carriage, and the little mice into proud white horses. The fairy godmother warned her to return before midnight, for the magic would end with the last chime of the clock. Cinderella entered the palace hall. She amazed everyone with her beauty and grace. The prince could not take his eyes off her. He invited her to dance, and they danced together all night under the gaze of the astonished guests. Her stepmother and stepsisters did not recognize her, as she looked like she had stepped out of a dream. When the clock struck midnight, Cinderella remembered the fairy's warning and fled, racing past the crowds and down the marble stairs. In her hurry, she lost one of her glass slippers on the steps, but she did not dare to stop. She made it home just before the magic wore off. The next morning, the prince declared he would marry the girl whose foot fit the glass slipper he had found at the ball. His soldiers traveled across the kingdom, carrying the slipper from house to house. When they reached Cinderella's home, her stepsisters desperately tried to fit the shoe. At last, Cinderella stepped forward quietly, despite her stepmother's mockery, and when she placed her foot in the slipper, it fit perfectly as if it was made just for her. The prince immediately recognized her and brought her to the palace, where they celebrated their marriage with great joy. Cinderella lived happily ever after, surrounded by love and dignity, while her stepmother and stepsisters learned the hard way that cruelty and jealousy could never triumph over kindness and hope.